Dickerods, everyone!
Hey,
We are back.
We are back.
Another great season coming at you in 2019. Glenn, we have quite a lineup for our boys today.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to be bringing you some news. We've got Q on with us today.
What's up, boys?
All the betting lines that you're going to need for this weekend. And Glenn's going to be telling us about everything he did wrong in the recruiting process this week, just to prelude some of our D1 coaches that we have coming up in the next couple weeks.
Let's get it.
So to start, I'm the soccer guy of the group, and I got to talk about this. So the Champions League final, if you watched it, you were most likely disappointed. So let me run this down for those of us here that aren't soccer people. There was a PK called in the first 25 seconds. Mane drew the PK. Salah obviously finished it. So it was about 85 minutes then until we saw another goal. It was a good goal. Origi ended up finishing an incredible shot down to the corner. That said, the game was a letdown. It sucked. It wasn't good. Is two EPL teams playing on a weekend. Oh, what a strange thing to see. It happens every freaking week. Nobody cares. So Ajax and Barcelona, in my opinion, were absolutely the more talented teams. There's no way of proving that. They both choked. So maybe they didn't deserve it. Who knows? But I don't really care now. That's over. Let's talk about the Stanley Cup. Q, give us some input.
So the Stanley Cup, right now it's tied 2-2. They're actually, as we're recording this, they're actually playing tonight. I think they're back in Boston now. 2-2, yeah. I think they're back in Boston for this one. As far as I know, I mean, I've been watching every now and then, and what I see from the Stanley Cup is Boston Bruins, great scoring team, but they're kind of being neutralized by the defense and the great goaltending of the St. Louis Blues. So honestly, it's up in the air. I think both teams have taken a road game, which is huge in the Stanley Cup. So, I mean, I just think it's whoever's gonna steal another road game, maybe take two on the road, and then it's just up in the air from there. It's a really good series. It's kind of a offense-defense battle.
I honestly, I watched the Maple Leafs Bruins game. Obviously, I'm a big Maple Leafs fan, so I followed that. And it honestly seemed like playing at home was almost a disadvantage. At least in the Boston-Toronto series. Toronto looked terrible at home. Boston looked terrible at home. And now on top of it, you have Chara, who is playing, but he's with a broken jaw, and I'm sure that's not comfortable. He had to freaking write responses to the media. Did you see that? That was something.
Yeah. That just speaks to the craziness and toughness of hockey players. He broke his jaw and he wanted to play the last game, but he's back this game, so dude's nuts.
Yeah. Another thing they're talking about is they're saying that the Blues are wearing down all the Bruins. I don't know how they say that. There's not an age difference. They're literally, I looked up their average ages, and it's half a year difference on their rosters. So, I mean, you can be more conditioned, but personally, the Bruins, in my opinion, are a consistently stellar team, and they're probably going to bring another championship back to Boston.
Yeah, you could say that. The only thing I could get off of that quote, like they're wearing them down, like the only thing I could read into that as is maybe they're only getting scoring from a couple people. The Bruins, like their top line is their most efficient, but they've been getting depth scoring throughout the playoffs. But I mean, if those top three guys don't do anything, I mean, you can make an argument for the Blues as well. So I don't know. It's up in the air, really.
True. Valid point. All right. Now Glenn's over here being quiet. So we're going to get him in here. First off, I'm going to read you all a quote from DeMar DeRozan, and we're going to get some of your responses here. If it wasn't for all the years and groundwork that I did before then, none of them things would have been possible. Yes, I fought, I sacrificed, I pushed the limits to where I had to be the sacrificial lamb. Glenn.
Yes.
What do you think of this?
Well, okay, look, I can see where he's coming from in this whole situation. Look, the Raptors, at some point or another, before they had both DeRozan and Lowry, just were not a good winning basketball team. And they kind of came in, and I feel like they brought the winning feeling to Toronto and Toronto's basketball. And I understand that for so many years, they can never get past LeBron because LeBron's just the greatest of all time. But, he came into Toronto and he brought the right feeling, and him and Kyle Lowry, they kind of just led the team. And I understand there's been more pieces added to the team since then. I mean, they've got Kawhi, who one is a much, much, much better player than DeRozan ever is, ever
Absolutely.
was, ever is, and ever will be.
Absolutely.
But I feel like that they had the groundworks there with the players that they had around DeRozan when he was there, that it was just a matter of now they got better pieces to add into the whole thing. I mean, you think about it, they upgraded at the small forward position. Or I guess I guess he was a shooting guard, whatever. But they upgraded by getting Kawhi for DeRozan. They ended up getting Marc Gasol, who their center last year, I can't even remember who it was at this point, was definitely a huge downgrade, though, in comparison to Gasol. So, like, in my mind, yes, they're a much better team. But I feel like the groundworks that he put together with Kyle Lowry and the rest of the team there that's been there since last year and the year prior to that, like, I just feel like he's got a valid point.
Now, that is the most egotistical comment I've ever seen. That's not even
absolutely
relatively true. Because here's the thing. Toronto's always been number 2 in the East. And that's only because LeBron ran the East. LeBron owned the East. LeBron leaves Toronto, regardless of whether DeRozan would have been there or not there. They would have been in the NBA Finals. They probably would have been.
No. This is where you're wrong. No.
But that doesn't matter. Listen.
Oh, my God.
I am completely in agreement with you. Kawhi is a million times better than DeRozan.
Okay.
Kawhi is a million. Listen.
For me. You're telling me that if they still had DeRozan on the team, they would have gotten through Giannis and the Bucks?
I think they would have.
Absolutely.
I think they would have. Here though. Going back. DeRozan, statistically with the Raptors.
Yes.
Did nothing more than Kawhi is doing for them. And there is no way that without Kawhi, forget DeRozan,
yes,
Toronto would have the season they're having. They would be in the finals. They would have lost already.
They would not be in the finals.
They would have been in the finals.
The only reason they are in the finals is because they were able to stop Giannis. DeRozan is not the defensive player that Kawhi is, and he would not have been able to slow down Giannis.
DeRozan is a better defensive player than Kawhi is.
No, he is not. Are you kidding me?
Toronto had better defense. This is one of Toronto's worst defensive years. This is Toronto's. Listen. This is Toronto's best offensive year in team history.
Yes.
They're in team history.
Offensive.
And defensively, it is one of their worst.
They've got the best defender in the league guarding Giannis, who arguably is one of the top 3 players in the league.
So he can stop one player.
He was the difference maker in the series when they're getting them to the finals.
Listen. There is just his comment is completely irrational. That is someone who's sitting at home watching the NBA Finals, trying to take credit for something he can't do. How come LeBron isn't calling back to Cleveland saying, yeah, I'm the reason you guys suck this year? I built that culture.
Well, because that's just implied. Without him, they suck.
Without DeRozan, Toronto is better.
Yes, they are better because they have Kawhi.
DeRozan was not why they are better.
Overall player all around, offensively, defensively, rebounding, passing.
I am telling you, look at their statistics. Defensively, they are a worse team this year than they ever were with DeRozan.
Was anybody else in the playoffs able to even remotely get close to stopping Giannis before they ran into the Raptors? No.
Then anybody else in the East good? No. You have the Bucks and you have the Raptors, and you can't even argue that.
I know.
There is no one else in the East we're playing with. There are 4 to 5 teams in the West that could be in the finals and beat any team in the East.
No. Okay. I'm kind of going to disagree with you on that part, too, because, look, the Nuggets were the 2 seed. You're going to tell me the Nuggets are getting to the NBA Finals? Hell no. You're going to tell me the Portland Trailblazers, who can never figure out.
The Nuggets are a defensive team. The Nuggets are and there has not been a defensive team win since San Antonio, and that's been one of the only teams in the past decade that has played defensive basketball to win a championship.
You want to know why? Because they had Kawhi.
Why didn't they do it with DeRozan?
Drop the mic.
Why didn't they do it with DeRozan?
That's
Kawhi my question.
Is a game-changing player. When he is on the floor, the game is different. The feel is different.
I'm not arguing. You are taking this completely from this comment of DeRozan being an idiot, I agree with you that Kawhi is a game changer.
Yes.
I completely agree with you there.
But he still laid the
DeRozan
ground
is
for the
part-
team to be where they were to where they are now. He was
DeRozan's out of his
laying
mind.
the groundwork.
DeRozan's out of his mind.
Okay, yes, he's out of his mind in the sense that, like, yes, he was the reason that they are currently in the NBA Finals. But I understand his rationale behind what he said.
He did nothing.
Okay, whatever. Let's just move on. What, we're going to continue to argue that a dude who one is not even in the playoffs.
All right, exactly. Give us
So
a
why
break.
is he
We're coming
saying-
back with some
Why
UFC
the hell is
lines
he
for you
saying
this
anything
weekend.
about it?
Because it's the NBA, and players say everything about anything that they can even think of because they all are on Twitter 24/7, and everyone listens to what they say.
There. Glenn, you wanted to talk about the finals. Talk about the damn finals.
All right, here we go for the finals. So, look, we are 3 games through the NBA Finals, the first NBA Finals in all of 9 years that LeBron James is not a part of, and I am highly depressed about it. I'm not going to lie to you. But here's what we got going into it. We are 3 games through it. The Raptors have a 2-1 lead on the Mighty Warriors, and here's why. Durant is being a big puss because his freaking calf hurts, and 2, because Klay Thompson was forced to sit out the other night.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's about right. What?
Durant is one of the best players in the NBA right now. He is a game-changing player.
Yes.
Like who we were just talking about.
He always has been.
He is a game-changing player. And most people say this game would have been over had he been playing. They say 4 and out. Raptors aren't even.
I personally think, I don't know if it would have been 4 and out, and here's the only reason why. I feel like the Raptors match up fairly well with the Warriors, even if they were full strength. Now, do I think that they would have been able to legitimately beat them in a series if the Warriors were fully healthy? No, but I do think they match up against them fairly well, and they probably match up the best with them of any team in the East. I at least think that they could have taken 2 games if they were at full strength.
Do you think they are putting too much player on guys that aren't playmakers, like Green?
Oh, yeah. Well, look, at this point they have to because, like, right now when you look at the Warriors, I mean, you take it – say for right now that Klay Thompson was out for Game 4, which we do know he is going to play. But you've got Curry and you've got Draymond Green and you've got, like, a shell of Boogie Cousins who looks absolutely just non-existent on the floor. I mean, shit, if you put me in a game, I'm sure I could probably figure out some type of way to maybe score 2 points in a NBA Finals case. I mean, that might be stretching it, but, like, let's be real here. Somebody who's getting paid a lot of money and he's only scoring 2 points and he's considered a top 20 player in the league, that's a little pathetic if you ask me. But, like, I personally think that I'm kind of loving watching this right now because I think for the first time ever, Steph Curry is discovering what LeBron has gone through for the last, like, 3-4 years where he is the only option on their team.
Well, there's a difference, though, is Steph Curry can't take over a game like LeBron, like Durant, like Kawhi. Yeah. He can't do that.
No.
He cannot single-handedly do that.
That's the only reason why I don't think if they have just Curry and for the rest of the series, I think they've got no chance of winning it.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And Klay is underrated and should definitely be getting more credit for the game than he is because
absolutely
he can handle himself out there too.
Absolutely.
I honestly, without Durant, it is up in the air. I give the Raptors a chance.
And he's out for Game 4. It came out today that he's out for Game 4. And I honestly heard the other day that he is not going to actually come back and play until he's legitimately 100%.
And then you have Chara playing with the broken jaw in the NHL.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got one dude complaining about his calf who can't go run up and down. You got Chara with his freaking broken jaw. It's just the difference between basketball and hockey. Even though I love basketball and watch very little hockey, but it's true.
That's the only thing I want to come in with. They stagger the games so they're not competing with each other, the NHL and NBA. But I watched I've been watching the finals, but I watched the game last night, and I watched DeMarcus Cousins take a 3, and he didn't legitimately get fouled. They called a foul, of course, because that's the NBA. And a 280-pound man who's 6'11" fell over because he got fouled on a 3-point shot.
That was a little.
I hate the NBA.
All right. Well, that wraps up our sports news for the day. Give us a short break. We're coming back with some UFC lines for you this weekend. All right. Now we're hopping into UFC. Q's going to give us some betting lines for this week. He's going to give us some handicapping information, and he's going to tell us, in his opinion, and let me tell you, this guy's hot. He's hit 3 of his last 4 bets, winning money. Q, What do you got for this weekend's card?
You're right. I'm hot as a bird. So the first fight I'm taking, I'm going to take two fights. So I'm going to tell you guys about two fights. The first one, Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Tony Ferguson. I'm taking Donald Cowboy Cerrone just for the fact that I love the guy. He's an amazing fighter. He's a high-octane guy, and I just love watching him. He's coming in at around plus 120 to plus 130, and Tony Ferguson's coming in at minus 145, minus 150, around that. So the betting lines, obviously there's more value to be had with Cowboy Cerrone, so I'm taking him. I think he's just going to catch him with something. He's been doing some crazy stuff, if he gets him down. Even if Ferguson takes Cowboy Cerrone down, he can throw up a triangle choke. He can work off his back and submit him from the back. But he also he can throw some random kicks that can just drop him or hit him in the head. And he's also coming off a 3-fight win streak. So against some good guys, moving up and down in weight. So he was up at 170, and he's fighting this one at 155. So he's very versatile, and I think he can win this one.
That's what I like to hear. Always count on the Cowboy.
Cowboy, baby.
What's your second fight?
I'm also drinking a Bud Heavy as we just to plug that in for Cowboy Cerrone. It's one of his sponsors. And second fight, we'll go to the main event. Henry Cejudo versus Marlon Moraes. I'm gonna have to take Henry Cejudo on this one. I think his everyone's talking that Marlon Moraes is just gonna go in there, overpower him, knock him out. But Henry Cejudo beat one of the best flyweights ever, and he's actually moving up. Henry Cejudo is moving up in weight to bantamweight, which is 135, and he beat one of the best flyweights at 125, Demetrius Johnson. So I don't know. I mean, I think his wrestling, his striking is so fast, so quick, so accurate, and I think he's just gonna be able to catch Marlon Moraes early in the fight, and if not, he can just take him to the ground and manhandle him there. The only problem I see is Moraes being able to outstrike him, but I don't see that really being a problem. I think Cejudo takes this one by knockout or unanimous decision.
See, here's my problem with Cejudo. One, he is the most boring fighter in the world to watch because you will watch the majority of this fight on the ground of him just holding on and hugging the guy. That's terrible. Two, he's a wrestler. So it takes one guy to be able to keep him on his feet to end the fight. And here's the thing with Moraes. He has more power than Cejudo.
Absolutely. I won't disagree.
What's going to hurt Moraes is his kicks are his strong thing.
Absolutely.
And all it takes is Cejudo to catch one kick, throw him to the ground, and Moraes is done. If Moraes goes to the ground, I don't think anybody's getting out of Cejudo on the ground.
No, I agree. He's I forgot to mention this, he's a 2008 gold medalist in freestyle wrestling, so in the Olympics. So forgot to mention that. So I think that's his game plan. If he doesn't knock him out or catch him early, I think he's got to take it to the ground because I don't think he's going to be able to strike with Moraes the whole time.
Yeah, Moraes will 100% knock him the hell out.
Yes, and the betting lines on that one, Cejudo's coming in at a plus 120 underdog, and I believe Moraes is around minus 145, so kind of about the same as Cowboy and Ferguson.
Q likes the values on these bets, folks. You better get on them quick.
Put them in, boys.
Lock it in. All right, that's our betting recap with Q this week. Coming up, we're going to hear from Glenn on all the mistakes he made in life to end up at a D3 school winning about 3 games a year.
Get it.
Well, Glenn, let's hear about all the mistakes you made in your life. Just about getting recruited, though, because we don't have time for all the other stuff.
Yeah, as I said, it's going to take a lot of time for me to describe all the mistakes I've ever made in my life. Anyway, though, so for anybody who doesn't know any of us, we all ended up attending the same mediocre Division III baseball program and just had an absolute terrible time on the field most of the time. So to give you a little background, in my 4 years there, we made playoffs our first year and then proceeded to not even win 20 games the last 3 years that we were there. So part of my recruiting process, I went into the recruiting process basically with the expectations of being told I could either play Division II or Division III baseball. So my first decision was to then look at Division III programs. And me being from New York, I ended up wanting to stay out of New York State, and I decided to go start looking in other states and ended up in the great state of Pennsylvania.
Yay, baby.
Yeah, great place to have a terrible baseball program. Anyway, I ended up at first going to a couple showcase camps where I got a little bit of attention from some schools. Again, they're pretty like low-level Division IIs or Division IIIs. Wasn't all that interested because a lot of them were in New York. So to me, that wasn't anything I really wanted to take or be a part of. So I continued to keep searching. And I came across a school which my parents, when they were in college, had played against. And when they were playing college, they always said this school would kick their team's ass in just about every single sport. So in my mind, I'm like, well, this is a great idea. I'm sure their baseball program is fantastic. Little did I know 4 years later that we would be one of the worst teams in the state, but that's a whole nother story. So anyway, I went about the process of emailing the coaches of the different programs that I ended up feeling I could end up going to. And essentially all of them sent back this email saying, hey, we're glad that you're interested in the program. Please come to one of our camps. And I can tell you for certainty, don't fall for that bullshit because those are literally just money grabbers for the teams because as a Division III baseball program, our coach every single time said, this camp is for you guys to make money, so invite as many people as you possibly can. So all these programs are just a bunch of crap, and they're just there for the team to make money. They are not there for you trying to get to the school. But I went to these camps, and one of them that I ended up going to, which ended up being the school I went to, the coach comes up to me afterwards and said, Glenn, we are very interested. I'd love to have you on the team. And what did I do? I listened to the first fat ass who told me that, and I ended up going there. My piece of advice when it comes down to it is don't say yes to the first school that says we're willing to offer you a roster spot right now because you will end up winning about 15 games a year if you go to the wrong program. Because that school was not all that fantastic at baseball, and I was just dead set on going there because they told me on the spot, we want you. And a lot of other ones were like, hey, we've seen you pitch. I ended up going to different showcase tournaments where coaches came to watch me, and they're like, we like the way that you end up throwing. We're happy with it. I ended up being a pitcher. We're very interested in you coming, but we need you to come to one of our camps. And to me, I wasn't as interested because at that point I was like, oh, God, why would I spend more money to go pitch in front of these people when they already saw me throw one time? So to me, it was just kind of like, I don't want to spend any extra money. But I spent money on a couple different camps, and those ones said, hey, we want you to come. So I took the bait, and I went straight at it. Do remember this. Every single Division III baseball coach knows that every other school is probably going to be able to offer you a scholarship, and they cannot. So they are going to tell you whatever they need to tell you in order to go to their program, and most of it is absolute crap. And I fell for that crap and ended up there.
Well, that was an excellent testimony, Glenn.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Absolutely.
hearing all the stupid things that you did in your recruiting process. All that actually in a prelude. We're going to be talking about some information we received from Mount St. Mary's head coach next week. And we are very excited to kind of analyze that and go through that and see what we can offer you from that. So we will be bringing that next week, along with more bets from Q, more crap from Glenn.
Let's get
and
it.
More nonsense from me. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next time.